Welcome to the Underground, my little underground with Peter A.
It's My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. This week on the show, we're going back 20 years to 2003 to talk about some of my favorite video games from that year. And why 2003? Because when me and my brothers were growing up, there were so many games that came out this year that had such a huge impact on us. And 20 years later, we're still playing some of these games. And joining me on the show once again are my two brothers, Michael Smiley Arriaga and Richard Arriaga. And I'm going to let my brother Richard kick things off to share some of his favorite games of 2003 right here on My Little Underground.
My Little Underground.
I would love to start with Jak II.
Oh,
that was
good one.
That was actually my way into the franchise.
Oh, yeah.
I played Jak II before I played the first Jak and Daxter, and before I played Jak III, and I just have a lot of good memories from this game. Very fun shooter platformer. It kind of made me think of Grand Theft Auto, but like in the world of Jak. And I remember putting so many hours into this game, not just because it was fun, but because it was very hard. It's very difficult. You'll find yourself doing the same mission 5-6 times because it's not an easy game, but it's very, very fun.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite games, and that game made me want to play the other ones.
Yep.
And I played the first Jak, but Jak II, that was a kind of a funny way to start a franchise. But
that was my entry point into the series too, and I got to the last boss, the Metalhead leader, but I never beat it. But I did beat Jak 3, but I still never beat Jak 1. But Jak 2 is the game I've been going. I actually restarted it recently. I've been going back to a lot because there's something about that game too that I love. I love exploring Haven City and going outside of the city too. But it's mostly Haven City and going into the sewers and stuff like that. Yeah. But it was it's great. It's very unique too and creative. So Smiley can go next.
You know, with Jak 2, right?
Yeah.
Like it really had like a natural open world. But when you go back to Jak 1, the only difference is like it didn't have a mini map. Like, you know, Jak 1 was open world like too, so it was kind of cool to see that connection.
Yeah.
But for me, my top game of 2003 is easily Ratchet and Clank Going Commando.
Oh boy.
And like, luckily, this wasn't our first entry point into the series. We played all the Ratchet and Clank games when we learned about them through the PlayStation demo disc from back in the day, and like, we had no idea that they were ever gonna make a second one. We loved Ratchet and Clank, and then one day we get a new demo disc, and it's like, wait a minute, there's a second one, and it turned out to be better than the first one in so many ways. It was like our Zelda Majora's Mask, like in terms of really, really good video game sequel.
Because when we got the PS2 the first time, it was November 2002. Ratchet and Clank, I think, came out the month after. And then Going Commando came out like almost a year after we got PS2 originally. So it made sense for us to like get accustomed to that game first before going back to the first one, similar to Jak and Daxter. Like, Jak and Daxter, the first one came out in 2002, and we got it the same year, but then by the time we were, almost a year into that, Jak 2 was already out. And then, I don't know, I fell in love with that game a lot more, because I like the guns and all that stuff. But
and it's kind of cool how we're talking about this in 2023, because like, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out this year, another really good video game sequel. And playing that game, I kept thinking to myself, this reminds me a lot of Ratchet Going Commando.
Yeah.
Like, and just being an amazing sequel to their first game.
So what about Ratchet and Clank Going Commando?
The story was like probably my favorite in the entire series in terms of just being a very cool espionage thriller. Yeah. But like you insert Ratchet and Clank. Like, okay, what if we had Ratchet and Clank? First Ratchet and Clank was, these two, these strange bedfellows. And like who hate each other, and they become friends. And in the second one, they're already friends, but now it's like, oh wait, shit, now we're commandos. Also is also the first game where Ratchet, the main character, meets someone of his race.
Yeah.
And the first time we I don't know, and it kind of made me realize, wait a minute. The first game, like the only reason why you know why he's a Lombax, because the guy used to sell you weapons, just call you, hey, what's up, Lombax? I thought it was a nickname.
Yep. And
like just the way that that series subtly builds its world around you, it's amazing.
And also the $39.99 price tag.
Oh yeah, right.
It was not $49. It was not $50.
Yeah.
I
Nope.
miss those days.
All that stuff you get in that game for $40.
And the game, obviously, the
Amazing.
gameplay is absolutely fantastic. You get not only an entire arsenal of weapons, new weapons, but you also get a really good chunk of the arsenal from the first game too.
Yep.
Like
If you had any sort of, you didn't have to beat it. To beat the first game, you just need to have a saved data of the original Ratchet and Clank, and you were able to inherit some of your weapons from the first game.
Yeah.
Which is great. All right. First game on my list, Tony Hawk's Underground.
Yeah.
Yeah. This game, I mean, just talking about the soundtrack first, it definitely influenced my music taste. I mean, some of the songs on here, Nas's "The World Is Yours,"
Yes.
Quasimodo's "The Low Class
This is the first time I heard
Conspiracy,"
Quasimodo.
yes, Ari the Rugged Man's "King of the Underground," love it. Stiff Little Fingers, Suspect Device, legendary punk group. If you watch High Fidelity, it was explained to me as the viewer that this band helped influence Green Day. But anyway, and then there's Cannibal Ox, Iron Galaxy. I mean, this game, this is soundtrack alone. I mean, it's called Tony Hawk's Underground, so you had a lot of like underground hip hop and stuff like that, which is fantastic. But as far as the gameplay is concerned, this was the first Tony Hawk game where you can get off your board.
Yep.
Because the original Pro Skater series, you couldn't get off your board. And it was just a game changer as far as like the freedom the player had. And this was also the first Tony Hawk game where story was the focus. It wasn't just doing goals in different maps, which is great too. That fans of the series still appreciate that. But this was like the first Tony Hawk franchise where like there was an actual story with characters, and they had like and it's also hysterical too, especially like Bam Margera. He was one of the funniest people on this in the whole game.
Early 2000s games had a really strong focus on story.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
And they had like a WWE level of creative character options. You can make your character as wacky as you wanted. You had a lot of
That's true.
freedom there. And the gross amount of replay value here is from collecting secret tapes to unlock hilarious skateboard wipeout videos, which is kind of funny because I remember I was watching a few of them, and then Mom was watching me play, and she was crying, laughing at some of the videos.
The
like,
unlockables in this game were insane.
Yes, and when you, speaking about replay value, right? So when you play on harder difficulties, you can unlock characters like Gene Simmons of Kiss. I think if you beat the game on like normal, you can unlock Gene Simmons, which is he's so much fun to play as. And one of his like special moves, like he breathes fire and stuff like that. It's really good. It's really good. All right, Richie, go next.
Yes, so sticking on the train of sequels,
Yeah.
Midnight Club 2. I clocked so many hours on this game. One of the reasons was because it was just fun. It's nice to like drive different cars, and the city environment was very, very cool to explore. But I kept trying to break the game. I kept trying to see if there was a way that you could like drive off of like a building on a ramp and get on the highway and like exit the map, but it wasn't possible. But I love the game because you could just drive around and have a good time, you know? I don't think I did a lot of the missions. I think I really just enjoyed driving. And that was the first game I played where like it was just driving. Like no walking around, no getting out, no doing all these things. You know, we're coming from a game like Thug that gave you so much freedom. And compared to that, Midnight Club kind of like it's a niche game, but I had a lot of fun playing it. Wow. Did I play Midnight Club 1? No. Did I play the other Midnight Clubs? No. But
well, it came on our PS2, the original one. I didn't play that much. I played a good chunk of it, and yeah, like you said, like I didn't really focus on the missions. I was just driving around.
Yeah, it was fun.
And it was in New York, and I'm thinking like, oh wait, because like I remember Dad would take when he worked in Wall Street. Like I saw the bull in Midnight Club, and I was like, wait a minute, I saw that in real life. So yeah, wait, Midnight Club 2 had maybe it was just on the cover. Were you able to ride a bike in that?
I'm not sure. I don't really remember. I just remember driving around like this the SUV.
Yeah.
And like I said, I didn't really do a lot of the missions, so there were probably other things to unlock in that game that I didn't really get to.
Yep.
You know, I just spent hours driving around.
Yeah.
You know, Midnight Club would actually grow on to be extremely influential. Like when GTA 5 came out, that was the first Grand Theft Auto with really good driving. Like really, and like I'm thinking like, what the hell game does this remind me of? And I'm like, oh wait, the same motherfuckers that made Midnight Club.
Yeah.
Like Midnight Club is very, very underrated.
Well, Grand Theft Auto is already car heavy.
Yeah.
Anyway, with because that's how you got around.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like the driving wasn't really always that like solid until Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yes, you're right. All right, what's next on your list?
Oh shoot, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini
Oh
Bottom.
yeah.
Because like this obviously compared to like a lot of games I played today, this game was very linear. But the thing is, it was extremely replayable. We literally would watch each other replay the same levels and still have the same exact amount of fun. Like the gameplay was very like to the point and solid, but like the design of it, like the colors, even with like the PlayStation 2 graphics back then, all the colors like blossomed. And like I really do credit the remake for like kind of like expanding on that, but like it really was the foundation of a very good and also, I'm not ashamed to say, a difficult game. Like a lot of later levels, the difficulty would spike. Like it really caught you off guard, and like in the story and the voice acting was stellar, despite one funny change they made where everyone's this is so noticeable because like you recognize every voice. Mr. Krabs, we noticed that he had a different voice actor in the game for some reason.
The budget Krabs.
Yeah, and it was yikes. But so I never really talked to him a lot. But man, everyone like you get to play as SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy. It was really and the music was beautiful. It was wonderful. Like the songs really stick to your head. Well, one exception, the fucking main lobby song in Bikini Bottom sucked. But the level music was absolutely beautiful.
I like the water effects when you're SpongeBob and you use a spatula.
Yeah.
When you hit square, I love the sound of the water.
I think it was like what the hell? I think he had his bubble device.
Yeah.
Yeah, his bubble. Yeah, and like when you every time any character just struck. Like.
Did you ever beat it?
Yeah, I did. It was hard, but I did beat it.
I don't remember I think who was the final boss? Plankton?
No, yeah, like the final boss. It was Plankton, but like each of the bosses in the game was like there are three main characters. Yeah, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy, and each of the bosses were robot versions of the protagonist. So the first main boss was, the first really hard boss was Robot Patrick, then Robot Sandy. Then it was Robot SpongeBob was the last boss, and
I couldn't beat Robot Sandy. I got stuck at that.
Yeah, she's very different.
Yeah, those bosses were not easy.
Nope.
Some of the levels were not easy too. Yeah.
But they were very simple. But they were like I was like the game's simplicity was what really impressed me so much. Like it was so much.
You know what's funny? Like in the SpongeBob movie, Plankton tried to he didn't turn everyone into a robot. He just had people.
Mind control. He had the bucket
different
helmets.
Things. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and this game led to that sequel. The sequel of this game would be the game for the SpongeBob movie,
which is also very good.
Yeah.
My next game is kind of on the similar path of like IPs, right? So the SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom game, great, and around this time, there was a lot of intellectual property video games, like movies made to games. Like there was the Chronicles of Riddick, and later on there was Incredibles and all this other stuff. I remember there was Rocket Power games. There was a Jimmy Neutron game. A lot of those games didn't fare well on the critical side of things. I'm not sure how they did financially, but one of the best IP games. The Simpsons Hit and Run.
Yes. Yeah.
This game.
Yes.
Yeah. I could do a whole podcast just on this game. The story was just as strong as some of the episodes. I would argue during this time period, the story of The Simpsons Hit and Run is probably better than the actual episodes at the time.
Oh wow.
It's that good, and playing as different characters, like in Battle for Bikini Bottom, added a lot of like freshness to the gameplay. You play as Homer, you play as Bart a couple times, you play as Homer a couple times, Lisa once or twice. The one thing that was weird was playing as Apu. That kind of threw me off guard, but his car was good. But it was cool. The hidden gags and the other secrets that it really just encouraged a lot of exploration and replayability, like collecting the collector cards and stuff like that. The little hidden gags, like when you go to the Quickie Mart. Not Hans Moleman, Jasper is in the fridge, and in the show he tried to freeze himself to see the future. Yeah,
and you find
it's really cool. And you go into the power plant. I think you can cause a meltdown and stuff like that. The little things like that are just great, and all of the different outfits are very charming, and they're kind of like a love letter to fans of the show. Like Homer, my favorite outfits are the devil costume from on the show I Am Evil. Homer. Yeah, I Am Evil.
Homer.
And just walking around in his underwear.
He sings that when you put on the costume.
Exactly, yeah.
He sings that.
And then
so funny.
when they're driving, a lot of the sound bites are from the show. Like, get out of my way, jerk ass. He said that in the show, too. Some of Lisa's costumes. The cool Lisa from the season 7 finale.
Yeah, the hippie
that was
Lisa.
great.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Marge's prison jumpsuit, the cop uniform, and the pink suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are a lot of cool little references to the actual show, which is
Bart had Hugo, one of his costumes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh
yes, from the Treehouse of Horror, yeah.
That's awesome.
They had the rocket car, which is a car you can find in the Springfield map.
Yep.
That was the best car.
Oh yeah, and they had the gold house from the Itchy and Scratchy episode, when that homeless guy was invented Itchy and Scratchy. Then they paid him a lot of money. Then he bought a gold house and a rocket car. I feel like liver and onions. Yeah, great show. And the vehicles in this game. I mean, oh my God,
it kind of looked funny, like when Bart or Lisa would drive a giant vehicle.
Yeah.
Like it would just you could see them through the roof of the car.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, it was so funny.
And Lisa had the electric car, Marge had the Canyonero, Homer had the pink sedan, and Bart had the Honor Roller, which is all from the show. Everything from the show. And the thing is, unlike Bikini Bottom, you had all the original voice actors.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It was
I can't
really a
imagine.
love letter.
It was a huge love letter to fans of the show. And they had a lot of hidden vehicles too, like the monster truck. In one of Bart's levels, the ATV. In Marge's, I think the second time you play as Marge, I believe, and the monorail car. This game was just outstanding, so funny, and now this game was like a parody of Grand Theft Auto, like almost like The Simpsons Road Rage was a parody of Crazy Taxi.
Yep.
And what I loved about the Simpsons Hit and Run is just like Tony Hawk's Underground, you can get out of the car. You can walk around just like Grand Theft Auto, but
kick people.
Yes, you can kick people, not punching, just kicking, which is funnier to me.
The most hysterical physics I've ever seen.
And the sound effects too.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I hope like people that are listening, they're like, oh, I got to play this game. Well, this game is very expensive now to buy
on
all the consoles. Yeah, like if you want to, maybe each console will be a little cheaper, but the PlayStation 2 one is most abundant. That's how I got it. I got it for PS2. I think I bought it like 10 years ago. It was very, very cheap. But I'm sure most likely probably the GameCube and Xbox version is probably like a lot more money. I don't know. I have to look into it. But this game is one of the best games from this time period. And I've played it so many times. I still love it. I still think about it all the time.
In some ways, it's more fun than Grand Theft Auto today.
Yeah, I'd say. Definitely. Okay, Richie, you're next. What's next?
Sonic Heroes.
Oh. I knew you were going to say
I
this.
love this game.
I knew you were going to say this, yes.
Game. It's one of those games that, like, it has an opening sequence, and I would watch it every time. I would watch the opening sequence every time because the music from the game is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's it brought all of the characters that were made in the Sonic universe together, split them up into sections of 3, and you could switch between the 3. So if you wanted to fly as Knuckles, you could. If you wanted to fly as Tails, you could. If you wanted to be the Speeders, you could. New characters like SBO and Omega 9, like the characters that I kind of forgot about. If you didn't play the Sonic Adventure games, then you wouldn't know, and I played those later. But Sonic Heroes was just so much fun. Sometimes the physics were wonky, especially if you were like Sonic and you would go really, really fast. There would be levels where you would like just barely miss the grind rail and you'd have to start over.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really like an easy game, but it was a lot of fun. And considering the fact that Sonic was one of the first games I played, period, Sonic Heroes was definitely one of my favorites. I would always play that. I'd play that for hours on end. I'd never beat the game because the Metal Sonic boss was just way too hard.
Yeah.
But I always appreciated going back and playing the levels, especially the levels with the Dark Heroes. Like Shadow's my favorite character in the show and also in the game. But yeah, and just like I can never get that song out of my head.
Yeah.
it's always just playing somewhere in the background, But that was a very, 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 very fun game to play.
You had to work to unlock the last boss in that game. You had to do a lot of side missions.
You had to collect all the things, all the Chaos Emeralds. Yeah.
This was essentially Sonic Adventure 3. The closest thing at least we got to it before Sonic.
I think the one drawback of this game is like I think I would have loved it if you just played as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles.
Yeah.
But the other people were just like, I don't really need all these people. It's a lot of like extra. It's like like when Tech 9 would do the Tech 9 Collabos albums, like it's just a bunch of other guys.
God,
like I'd rather just hear, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. I get you.
They could have been people you fought and then unlocked later.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I actually did like how you can unlock multiple characters.
It's a large ensemble cast.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I did like how you can unlock other people and like, be rewarded by playing as whether or not you were that interested in them, that's for you to find out.
And then there was this game was more of like the original Sonic series. Like more of like a platform instead of like Sonic Adventure was more very RPG. Like experimental RPG mixed with a little platforming. What a weird game those games were. So strange. Smiley, what's next on your list?
Next on my list is probably Smackdown Here Comes the Pain. That is like one of like man, I mean, they can never remaster this game because there are literally people that can never be in another wrestling game again.
Yeah.
Like but this game was like even a non-wrestling fan can pick this up and just easily learn how to play it. It to me, it's like the best of the Akai engine games.
This is not an Akai game.
It wasn't?
No.
It wasn't on. It looked like it looked like an advanced version of the Akai engine.
No.
It was just like oh my god! The best story mode because it was just like it was a season mode, and even when you complete it, you can play it over again because like like wrestling, it doesn't stop. Like
I think it's Aki. I think it's Aki.
Isn't it Akai?
Yeah, I don't know.
I believe it's Akai. Yeah, like but. No, this game was absolutely amazing.
The Aki games were the N64 games.
Oh.
Like WrestleMania 2000, I believe WCW versus NWO Revenge, and No Mercy.
I believe it's on that engine.
I don't think so. No, it's not. Yeah.
I did like how you could go backstage. Like if you were in a match and you walked behind the stage, like the map switched and you could continue the match back there.
Yeah.
And to me, that was so cool. And I didn't realize that was a feature until, I was like walking around and then discovered that, there's a whole another section of the map,
Yeah.
And the match doesn't stop. It just keeps going.
This is actually on my list too, but from my perspective, right? So like, Smiley, you addressed it, the gameplay was just like perfected, very easy to pick up and easy to master too.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the Aki system was easy to pick up, but hard, challenging to master. But it's different from that. Like it perfected like of the PlayStation games, the Smackdown games. This was the perfection of the PlayStation style, the Smackdown series. And it's pure arcade. It's more Blitz than Madden, if that makes sense for any non-wrestling fan.
Like Slugfest.
Yes. Yeah, it's right. Which I'll get to that later. But had a very, very deep roster, especially on the Legend side. They had George the Animal Steel, 1990 Undertaker, the Road Warriors, both of them, Jimmy Snuka, Nikolai Volkov, Ric Flair, but Ric Flair was an active wrestler at the time, part of Evolution, Sergeant Slaughter, Ted DiBiase, and Ultimo Dragon.
It had a young John Cena, young Randy Orton. It had Eric Bischoff in it too.
Well, those are all active people, but I'm saying like as far as like the one aspect of the roster that really stands out is the deep amount of Legends roster.
Yeah.
And you didn't see that until like the later WWE 2K games where they had a lot more Legends in it. This was the first Elimination Chamber. The first game with the Elimination Chamber, which is so much fun to play
to
as.
The point. It was awesome.
Exactly. It was so good. A lot of wild backstage areas like Richie was talking about, especially Times Square. You can wrestle outside Madison Square Garden, and you can climb a helicopter and jump off it.
Oh my God, the music was also great.
Yeah, it's very generic, but
it
was very, it sticks in your head, just like No Mercy.
Yeah.
Like No Mercy's, like the soundtrack is like a thing with fans. Like on recent Botchamania, one of the NXT announcers, because they were promoting No Mercy, and the announcer was like, "Diggity dog, got No Mercy coming up," and that's a song from No Mercy. Like you talked about the season mode, which is great, and I love the upgradable stats in it. Like you start out like with almost nothing, and then you can buy stats. You can improve your endurance, your submissions, and all that stuff. It's so cool. This game is just, and this is another game. If you don't have it right now, it's very hard to come by, and if you do find it, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, there are people. When you see the deep roster, you'll know why this game will not be remade.
Exactly. I think all of us, we still take care of our games. I bought this game in 2005, and it still plays perfectly.
Yeah.
I take good care of my shit. So Yeah.
This
All
was
right.
essentially the Brock Lesnar game. Like the game was
Yeah,
themed
he was
around
undercover.
causing as much destruction as you possibly could.
Here Comes the Pain was part of his whole marketing
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, like the other two games of the PS2 SmackDown games, like Just Bring It was the first one. That had The Rock. The second one was Shut Your Mouth, which is also The Rock, but Triple H was on the cover.
Of course, I wonder how that happened.
Yeah, but yeah, Triple H was the man back then. But okay, Richard, what's next on your list?
So this is the last game on my list. There's
Yep.
a lot of crossover, and I'm glad I didn't step on anyone's toes.
Yep.
SSX 3.
Oh
my God,
that's a good one.
It's-
That's a good one.
That's a
I'm
good
thinking
one.
about like the whole fact that we were talking about Tony Hawk's Underground, and there was a skateboarding genre, but there was also the snowboarding genre.
Yes.
And this was a lot of fun. I remember playing the demo for this, and then when we got the game, I kind of forgot that it was there, and one day I just popped it in and I started playing it.
Yep.
Very, very intuitive. Its mechanics are very smooth, and it made snowboarding look fun to me. You know, I know that's a very difficult sport, but playing the game for me is a little better than trying the sport. But I don't know, I kind of I like the snow atmosphere. I like the fact that there was a path that you could follow that kind of like helped you, for it had a steep learning curve, but once you got it, you actually had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah.
And I just remember clocking in a lot of hours for this. I don't play a lot of sports games, and that was one of the sports games that I really enjoyed. I didn't play the other two, but SSX3 was one that we had in the library.
I played Tricky, a little
Yeah.
bit of Tricky, but 3 was really good. The thing about Tricky in the SSX3 is like, it was easy to pick up, but very hard to master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
not an easy game. Like
No.
the only thing that confused me about it is like progressing through the game. I had trouble like, okay, so how do I keep going?
Right.
Maybe I had to. I started playing it a little bit more to really understand it. And I like how the characters kind of talk trash to each other.
Yeah.
A little bit. I think it's kind of cool. It's a lot of fun. It's beautiful too.
And the thing is, like,
Yeah.
we played even before we got the game, we played the demo to death. That's how
Yeah,
fun the game was.
It's a lot of fun.
Like, when we were watching that episode of What's Always Sunny in Philadelphia about the snowboarding, I kept thinking about SSX3 during that whole
Yeah.
And I was reminded about this game through Fortnite, because Fortnite tends to borrow from a lot of different game properties.
Yeah.
And when they added in the snowboard,
Yes.
I was like, oh, this reminds me of something. And then I realized it was SSX that,
Yep.
that I was thinking of.
Exactly. What's next on your list, Smiley?
My list. A game that I didn't get a chance to appreciate until years later, but I do want to put on my list because Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Wow.
This
It's a
game,
big one.
Mass Effect is the same people that made Mass Effect. Mass Effect is one of my favorite games ever. And it didn't dawn on me going back to Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, because I was looking for a really good Star Wars game. Going back to that game, I realized this is where Mass Effect got it from. The way you can make a character and your choices are yours. By the end of the game, you can either be a heroic Jedi or a bastard Sith. Your decisions are yours, and I barely scratched the game surface because it's so replayable. You can like Mass Effect. You basically forge your own path through the Star Wars universe.
How'd you play this? This is an Xbox and PC exclusive.
Wasn't that PlayStation?
No.
Oh shit! I guess it's like one of the first games on my list that's not PlayStation.
Yeah.
I didn't play it until years later though.
Yeah.
I believe it was like on Xbox backwards. But man, yeah, I do. This is a game I do want to go back to more and more.
Well, I remember. Go ahead. Finish.
No, I just remember when the new Star Wars Battlefront came out, I was like kind of wasn't satisfied, and I wanted to go back to a really fun Star Wars game other than Battlefront 2, and this game really was a game changer. I just feel bad I didn't realize until years later.
I remember watching G4 at the time, and they talked about this game a lot. It was this game, and then in 2004, actually, it was this game and Mario Kart they talked a lot about.
Mm-hmm.
In 2004, they talked a lot of, it was Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 4, Halo 2, and San Andreas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember hearing a lot about this game and never actually playing it. All right, so on my list, I got one of the best sports games ever, MLB Slugfest 2004. And this came out the spring of 2003, and so easy to pick up, a little challenging to master, but once you understand like the technique of it, and it's almost like, it reminds me in a little bit of the Aki system in the wrestling games, because in No Mercy, for example, if you do the same move on the AI, they will reverse it easier. same thing in Slugfest. If you keep beating people, like hitting people with the pitch, they're gonna light on fire and they're gonna hit home runs every time. And if you keep throwing the same pitch, they're gonna hit a lot more. Just like in real life. This game is like, it's very arcadey, but in the sense that it's not mindless.
Right.
Like there's some strategy you need to have in this game. So I remember, like even like a decade ago, talking to sports fans about this game, they thought it was stupid. I'm like, it's not real baseball. I'm like, yeah, it's not real baseball. It's fun.
Fucking video game.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like there is a level of strategy to this game you need to do. And they had some hilarious announcing with Tim Kitzrow, who also did the announcing for Blitz, Hits, NBA Jam, and I didn't know this, Mutant Football League on the Sega Genesis.
Wow.
Yeah, I played that. That's very fun too. That game is great too. And the cheat codes, hysterical.
The big
Oh
head
my
mode.
god. Like the horse-headed mode?
Yes, the horses.
Jesus.
You can play as clowns, Sub-Zero.
It's Scorpion.
Yeah, because it's midway.
So
Yeah.
random.
The motion capture for this game, the animations blew my fucking mind at the time. Because like, even though like a lot of people didn't consider it a real sports game, my god, it had the quality of a real sports game. But
It was better than some of the real
like
sports
literally,
games.
like what you said, like if you can literally piss off the pitcher in this game. If I think if you hit the pitcher in the face, there's an animation where the motherfucker drops his mitt, he runs towards where the batter is, and you see like the reaction from the umpire, and like you just hear punch sounds. It pretty much implies like, yeah, the pitcher can beat up the batter.
Yeah.
And like you go back and then the batter's just on the floor crying.
I think it's the other way around.
No, like wait. Oh, the batter can go to the. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. And my
Yeah.
god, no, but man, like I remember that blowing me away. Like my god, they worked really hard on this game. Even as a kid, looking at it.
Yeah, and I absolutely loved. So when you're in the outfield and your opponent is batting, once you have possession of the ball, you can beat up the outfielders. So yeah, if someone's on first base, for example, and you throw the first, you can spend 30 minutes or so, hours, beating the living piss out of the first, second, third baseman. And let's say if your opponent scores at home, you could throw the ball to the what do you call them? Umpire,
Yeah.
and they'll you could beat the shit out of them. Yeah.
It was like Grand Theft Auto. It turned into fucking like, oh my god.
And they'll do a little celebration dance, like when they stretch out, put their arms out. I'll wait for them to do that, and then proceed to beat them to death. Yeah. This game, hours of fun.
Yeah.
Hours of fun.
Yeah, this is being a slugfest.
So much fun. Okay, so there's one game that I know that all of us will probably include on our list that I want to give my perspective, and you guys, kid too. Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, right? So we played this game. I don't even know how many times on many different formats of the game.
Yeah.
On the original PS2 version, the PlayStation 3 remaster, just so many different times. I have so many different complete games on the PS3 version and on the PS2 version, because we played this game so many times. And I talked about it earlier. The $39.99 price tag, what you get for $40 is unbelievable. Like, it's ridiculous. The story was simple but hysterical. It's great that, like Michael talked about, the Ratchet finding Angela, fellow Lombax, which is really cool. The unlockables, tons of weapons that are upgradable, which allowed for multiple playthroughs. Get the armors, the outfits, many different items, the destructible environments. Like, I can go on and on here. The upgraded wrench mechanics.
Yeah,
you can move around when you throw your wrench, which was new for the game.
Yo, like halfway through the game, you're finding out new mechanics.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
and like with the story, I can't stop talking about how good the story is. Like, it wasn't about like Ratchet getting the girl, because that's like the first thing that a lot of games resort to. Ratchet,
Good
it wasn't
point,
about getting
yes.
like the first game. There were strange fellows who were caught in the same situation. At first, it's like, get out of my way, like, because like originally the way Angela is set up. Spoiler alert in case you have played this game. The way
20 years.
Yeah, right. The way Angela is set up, right, is that like Ratchet here, like his first day as a commando, well, his first like real mission as a commando, he hears about this person called the Thief, and this Thief is hysterical, so charismatic.
Love the red herring.
Yeah, but
Love
also
the red herring.
very believably evil, right?
Yes.
But then at some point, you finally corner this bastard, right? And all of a sudden, they trip off of their hoverboard, their mask falls off, and then Ratchet and Clank are like, holy shit, you're a Lombax. You're like a whole different kind of. And at first she's like, oh, you guys are in my fucking way. Fuck you. But then like quickly they were like, okay, wait, we have a common goal, and you guys pretty much save the galaxy together. But it wasn't about getting the girl. It's about like, you know, putting like aside your differences for a common goal.
And the one thing I loved about this game is the arena challenges, and I want you guys' thoughts on this. The Impossible Challenge. Have you ever beat it?
No.
None of you guys beat it.
No. It was difficult. No. I saw you beat it.
I did beat it.
We watched you beat it.
I beat it multiple times. And okay, what the Impossible Challenge is, right? You go through 60 rounds, but you don't know that it's 60 rounds because when you start the Impossible Challenges, when you start the first round, it's 1 out of question mark.
Yep.
So you don't know how many you don't know. Yes. So it's only it's 200,000 bolts, which is a lot for an arena challenge.
It is.
And you get a snowman outfit and a skill point, right? So the skill points you unlock throughout the game, little challenges, and once you get enough skill points, you can unlock cheat codes. Big head mode, Ratchet tuxedo, the swim outfit, the beach outfit, and the snowman you have to get through the Impossible Challenge. So it's 60 rounds. So you have to make sure you have enough weapons and they're upgraded.
Yep.
That's another thing the arena challenges can do. You can, go through the arena challenge, get bolts and upgrade your weapons. So periodically you have different bosses, right? You get, what's his name? You get the arachnoid.
The jerk with the big swords with the jetpack.
Oh, Chainblade?
Yeah.
That's the other planet. That's Mactar Resort.
Oh, wait.
The Impossible Challenge is in Joba, planet Joba.
Oh, you get the spider. The spider. The big. Isn't there a big spider boss?
The arachnoid.
Yeah. Okay.
Him, and then the last boss is the centipede, which is annoying because he's floating around the stage.
My God.
He's floating around the stage. It's
so annoying.
It's so hard.
Very impressive.
Yeah, and you have to make sure you're strapped. You have to be strapped.
For a good reference, anyone who's played Breath of the Wild and has played the Trial of the Sword, in which it's just like this. It's like, it's almost like a mini roguelike game, right? It's 60 levels, but if you fail, you got to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, you know what this game also taught me? How to balance a budget.
Oh, yeah.
Because the in-game currency, it's very like RPG-like. You have to collect bolts, and you need the bolts to buy weapons and to buy armors too, or else you're gonna die.
Wait, Richard, did you ever do a rhino run of this game?
No.
Oh, did you guys get the rhino in this game?
In going Commando?
Yeah.
I got it eventually.
Yeah.
I got it eventually. Yeah, the rhino is awesome, but the Zodiac, that's the weapon to get.
No, I don't like the Zodiac.
Well, it's basically an easy mode that you unlock for $2 million.
No, it's $1.5 million.
Oh.
Yeah, and you press circle, and all the enemies turn to dust.
But the effects were amazing. Well, anyway, I was saying a rhino run is essentially where, like, rather than buying weapons, and I saw Richard do this for Ratchet and Clank 1, I didn't see him do it for 2. If essentially you save all your money by not buying weapons so you can save money for the rhino, which is the most powerful weapon in the game.
I didn't do that, because you need the other weapons. Like,
Yeah.
These are the weapons you need to get.
This game is hard.
You got to get the plasma coil. You got to get the bouncer.
Yep.
And you should get the rhino. And, like, the mini rocket tube. You need that.
And the Viz Bomb. You actually get the Viz Bomb from Ratchet and Clank 1.
I hated the Viz Bomb in this game. It's terrible. Because the enemies are strong.
And you get a sniper, too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The sheer amount of weapon variety in this game is staggering.
It's unbelievable. Like, this crawled so Borderlands can run.
And Borderlands, after playing Borderlands, which is fun and innovative, still wasn't, like, Ratchet and Clank did it better to me.
I think it's a bit one-dimensional. I think the reason why a lot of people like this game is because of the amount of weapons.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weapons. But Ratchet and Clank has a lot of weapons and a fun story. And really charming characters.
And not annoying villains.
One of the most challenging aspects of going Commando was the introduction of the glider.
I love the glider. Yeah.
Me too. It had a steep learning curve because it like the aerodynamics, like you had to be very, very precise with your movements.
Yep.
And if you crashed once, that was it. Which is kind of funny. Like the crashing animation was hilarious because you'd hit something and then you'd spiral out.
Yeah.
But once you get that, the rest of the game is kind of is a little easier because I think there are two very important glider sections of the game, and you cannot proceed with the story unless you beat them both. When you're in the desert and when you're in the I forget It's like the planet where you go to the moon is Clank. You have to like put in the bolts, and then you have to like glide to the other side of the map.
Oh my god.
That was
city
hard.
level that led
my
to
God.
That was
yeah.
hard. That
Oh
took
my
me a
God.
while.
Giant Clank level. Oh my god.
I remember the first couple of times I did that and I couldn't get it. I had to put the game down for a little bit, go for a walk, touch some grass.
I wanted to get the nanotech upgrade there.
Yeah.
Because the nanotech upgrade there is impossible to get. Like
Yes.
until this day, 20 years later, I still can't get that. But this game is outstanding, and strafing.
Yeah.
Strafing was a game because in
Yeah,
the
that was
first
a
one
game
you couldn't
changer.
strafe. You had to like in the first game you had to like outthink your opponent. You had to shoot first.
Yep.
So if you had like let's say the blaster, you have to make sure your opponent's not shooting at you, and you have to stand still and shoot at them.
Yep.
But like with going commando, you can strafe and move around and like kind of like outmaneuver your opponent, which was just amazing.
Yeah, like, and this is, there's so many weapons in this game that you actually did not need to buy all of them to complete the game because there's just so many.
Yeah, and you can just play the game over and over again.
And you get,
until,
and
yeah.
and here's the thing: there's a challenge mode in this game, and even in challenge mode, you get new stuff too.
And if you have a PS5 and you're skeptical about getting Rift Apart, I got Rift Apart, and the bouncer's in it.
Oh.
The bouncer, not any other gun. They took a gun from Ratchet and Clank 2.
I like
And the
that.
Put it in
Carbonox
this game.
armor is in
I gotta
Rift
play that
Apart as
game.
Yes,
well.
yeah.
I gotta get around to that.
Oh my god, yeah, it's great. Don't get the 2016 Ratchet and Clank one.
Just don't.
Just skip that one.
That's one of the reasons I was actually kind of like hesitant on Rift Apart because it's built on that engine.
Yeah, but Rift Apart is great.
Yeah.
So great.
If I could offer any bit of advice to anyone picking up Going Commando today, if you have never played it before, when you get to the part of the game where you're in the desert and you're collecting crystals, spend as much time there as possible. Get as many crystals as possible because they will help.
Oh my
They
God.
will help tremendously. And if you can push yourself, don't die in that part because the music will change when you die. And then
Yeah.
it becomes this like kind of drony, why am I doing this kind of thing. But when you first get to the desert part, the music is amazing. It's exciting,
Yeah.
very motivational. I
And
would
here-
say spend some time in the desert.
And here's another thing, that's a good point. When you beat the game in challenge mode, you get the bolt multiplier.
Oh, that makes it
the
so much
crystals and the moonstones
Yes.
are worth way more.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you get so you can be loaded in this game. They
Yeah.
give you it's just like they kind of scale back how much money you can make in the game after this. But yeah, this game was special.
Yes, and I think this game is kind of easier to come by if you want to get the original copy. But if you have what's actually rare is the PS3 collection of the original PS2 of the first Ratchet and Clank, Going Commando, and Up Your Arsenal.
Yeah.
But if you have a PS2, the original copy is pretty easy.
Honestly,
to
the
come by.
PS2 version is better optimized. A lot of like remasters for like PlayStation 3, like
Yeah, the PS2 version, the PS3 version was a little glitchy.
yeah, because like
Yeah,
it was
especially Up Your Arsenal. That was
yeah,
was pretty.
you saw like holes through the characters.
It was
and
weird.
shit.
Yeah.
Like like
Don't play the Deadlock one.
no, just don't.
If you want to play the Deadlock, the fourth game, get it on the PS2.
Yeah.
Do not. It's weird. But moral of the story: if you have your PS2, your GameCube, your original Xbox, don't get rid of it. Don't get rid of the old
Please
games.
don't. Please don't.
Keep them.
My little underground.